When you watch the mainstream media, what do? They tell a vision.
This is extremely dangerous to our democracy.
This is extremely dangerous to our democracy.
That's odd, isn't it? It's extremely dangerous to our democracy. Do you know what's really dangerous to our republic? Ladies and gentlemen, Trump has been right about so much. And if you don't know, I'm going to just read a short list, okay? The Russia situation from term number one that they've drained over into half, through his break between term one and term two. They tried doing it, in the beginning of term two. 60 Minutes won't even allow you to play the clip where Leslie Stahl is saying, oh, we don't have any proof of that. Along with the Hunter Biden aspect of things, too, about the laptop. Oh, sir, there's no proof of that. Oh, well, that's not necessarily true, is it now, Leslie? Let's see, 2019, the China situation. Can't say the word before that. I mean, I probably can, but I'd much rather not because it got me in trouble to begin with. He said quite a bit about the 2020 election in the past and present, by the way, if you don't know that. Let's see here. These are in no particular order. So we got the indictments, the raid on Mar-a-Lago, the impeachments, 2 attempts on his life, the Charlie Kirk situation, Biden, Obama, Hunter Biden laptop, Clinton, Epstein, more to come, I'm sure, on that. Let's see here, the Fed steal. If you don't know about what I'm talking about, I'll play a clip here in a little bit about that. Let's see here, Minnesota, fraud, steal. When I say steal, I'm talking about fraud. Mainstream media, meaning he's called him out for a long, long time about being fake. And as you just got done seeing, it's always the same shit, ladies and gentlemen. Always the same shit. Let's see here. We got Iran. We got the Middle East piece. We got, he talked about Ukraine in the beginning of his first term, or during his first term, and they impeached him on that. And let's see here. He's talked about Ukraine since he's been elected president. Venezuela, more to come on that. Let's see here. He's talked about the IRS, abolishing that, or, revamping it, whatever, for the people, right? Let's see, we got the gold standard. He's talked a lot about the gold standard. And ladies and gentlemen, if you don't know, the gold standard, when we came off the gold standard, is when the IRS started. Let's see here. Corruption in all departments, FBI, CIA, NSA, DOJ, weaponized. IRS, and I'm sure I'm forgetting some. I'm sure that there was a lot of fraud within the, now it's known as the War Department. Let's see, and that's just to name a few. So here's the clip about what I'm talking about when it comes to the Fed steal.
And we're just taking a look at what's happening. It's a tough construction job. They're building basements where they didn't exist or expanding them, and a lot of very expensive work. There's no question about it. And Tim has been with me for a long time, and
Yes,
you're in
sir.
charge of the committee.
Indeed, one of the reasons I wanted to see it was the overruns of the expenses, wanted to figure out why.
Yeah. So we're taking a look, and it looks like it's about 3.1 billion. It went up a little bit, or a lot. So the 2.7 is now 3.1.
I'm
And-
not aware of that.
Yeah, it just came out.
Yeah, I haven't heard that from anybody at the Fed.
Yeah, it just came.
I noticed that at about 3.1 as well. 3.1, 3.2.
This came from us.
Yes. I don't know who does that.
Now, you're including the Martin renovation. You just added.
Our entire capital.
Yeah, you just added in a third building is what that is. That's a third building.
Well, no, but it's a building that's being built.
No, it was built 5 years ago. We finished Martin 5 years ago.
It's part of the overall work.
But it's
So,
not new.
So we're going to take a look. We're going to see what's happening, and it's got a long way. Do you expect any more additional cost overruns?
Don't expect them. We're ready for them, but we have a little bit of a reserve that we may use, but no, we don't. We expect to be finished in 2027. We're well along, as you can see.
Nice to take these off every once in a while when we're not under too much danger. So, any questions?
Mr. President, does
As a
the
real
issue
estate
give you any?
developer, as a real estate developer, what would you do with a project manager who would be over budget?
Generally speaking, what would I do? I'd fire them.
Do you think this issue, Mr. President, gives you cause to do that?
Well, I'm here just really with the chairman. He's showing us around, showing us the work. And so I don't want to get that. I don't want to be personal. I just would like to see it get finished. And in many ways, it's too bad it started. But it did start. And it's been under construction for a long time. It's going to be a real long time because it looks like it's got a long way to go.
Yes, sir.
So,
President, are there things the chairman can say to you today that would make you back off some of the earlier criticism?
well, I'd love him to lower interest rates. But other than that, what can I tell you?
See, ladies and gentlemen, you should be pissed off because it's our money. It's your money. Do you understand? One thing that I learned in 2021 is the first thing that they do to try to control you is to take your money. If you can't support yourself, then you will rely on them. It is so incredibly simple. And ladies and gentlemen, it is serious. The amount of fraud, the amount of insider trading that has gone on in this country is ridiculous. People go to Congress and the Senate for, starting pay is $174,000. I don't necessarily know if you're there for an extended period of time, if you get a bump, or if it's just $174,000. People go there, they have low net worths. Some, not all, have low net worths. And then they all of a sudden become multi-millionaires, like Ilhan Omar, or Ilhan Omar. Sorry, Elon. My bad. But see, she went there. I think she had a net worth around 32,000 or minus 32,000, something around that ballpark when she got there. And now she's worth $30 million. Nancy Pelosi, holy shit, she must have the best track record in the world when it comes to stocks. And ladies and gentlemen, it is controlled by the bank, and the people that control the banks control everything else. And the one thing that they can't control, because he's not controlled by them, is indeed Donald J. Trump. 100%. So I'm going to try to help you guys understand what this whole Federal Reserve deal is about, with the investigations and fraud and so forth and so on top of what you just watched. where you go from up to 3.1 3.2 billion dollars to build a building. Well, the one person that knows how to build buildings is Donald Trump, plain and simple. But let's get into this aspect of it here.
What is this really all about? What is the president really doing? And what is the Fed really doing? The founders understood the danger of a federal bank and a federal institution, because who benefits from a central bank? When money is created, it's not you, the wage earner, because your purchasing power goes down. It's not you who saves money. You've been told, save money, put money in. No, because discipline is punished through inflation. The first people that benefit are the closest to the spigot. The spigot opens up, and it's the large financial institutions, the big banks, who are the Federal Reserve. Understand that. The banks are the Federal Reserve. They're the ones who profit first. Then any government that's borrowing money. And then the speculators who can move before prices rise. Why do you think there's not a big move for the Federal Reserve in Congress? How much is Nancy Pelosi worth again? How did she make those? How did she make all that money? Oh, her husband's just great. No, her husband makes Warren Buffett look retarded. The founder's idea, like it or not, was that God gives man rights. Before, it was God gave certain people, kings, et cetera, et cetera. God gave rights to those people, and those people had rights over you to tell you exactly what to do, how to live your life, what land you could own, what you had to do with your money, what you had to do with your whole life. They could tell you everything about your life. Founders came along and said, that's got to stop, because people are their own sovereign. You're the sovereign over your own life. And governments, says in the Declaration of Independence, are instituted among men to protect those rights. So the first thing that government comes into is the people saying, I need somebody to be a guardian over my rights, over my property, over, business. If I'm in business and somebody's being unfair, I need somebody to come in and go, hey, these are the rules. You're wrong, you're right, but these are the rules. And if you guys don't like the rules, you guys can change the rules. I'm just here as a referee. Okay, that's the government's role. We came up with a government that checked on itself. We had Congress, the president, and the court system, and they all ran checks and balances. Even in Congress, the purse strings, the only one that can start spending your money is Congress. So your congressmen, you have to vote them in every 2 years. Why? Doesn't that seem ridiculous? Every 2 years you have to go vote for your congressman? No, the founders knew they controlled the spending. And so if you didn't like what they were spending, if they were raising taxes and spending too much, you could vote them out every 2 years. So they didn't have this long control. They were given the keys to the purse, to the safe. They don't anymore. We haven't had a budget since 2008. Progressives finally got rid of the whole budget process. So it doesn't matter who starts it, because all they do is they just add on to what they've already had. We're going to expand this, going to track this, and they can move the money. But they needed one other thing, because if you can control two things, health and money, you control people completely. So they took over your money. And this was voted on over and over and over again, and the American people kept saying no. And so they all got together, all these bankers and these senators got together and went to Jekyll Island for a week, and they put together this whole idea of the Federal Reserve and named it the Federal Reserve so people would think that it's part of the federal government. It controls everything. It controls your inflation. It controls the boom and the bust period. It controls everything. Basically, it controls you. It takes us from a country that says you can do anything to you can do anything if the federal government says it's okay and if the bank says it's okay. Before, you could do anything, and the government just played referee. Now the banks and the federal government pick and choose winners. Well, no, you need a you can't just go out and do something. You need a license for that. Why do I need a license for that? I mean, some things I think I need a license for. Cutting people's hair. I mean, in the era of straight razors, maybe. That's not happening anymore. Why do I need that? I need a license for why? Why? So the state can not just make their money, but the state also has control. This should not be part of our system. You want to fix it and make it fair. Abolish the Federal Reserve.
The truth will always come out, especially when you have people that are in charge that is trying to better the civilization of our country. What betters us betters the other worlds, the other countries. Why do you think there has always been unrest since World War I and II? And then what else happens? Iran-Contra, Vietnam, all kinds of things. Because it's the way to be able to make money. You know, one of the playbook's rules is you never let a crisis go to waste. Ever. Crises are how they make money. It's how they try to dictate the outcome of situations through crisis. Crisis is a money pot. All kinds of people have their hands into that. Just take a look at Minnesota. The Minnesota mayor, I don't know. He looks kind of weird. Maybe he's not sleeping very well. Who knows? See you next time.
Of dollars of taxpayer money for government programs. Do you think Governor Walz did enough to stop the fraud in your state? And do you support his decision not to run for re-election?
Well, look, Governor Walz is the reason that we've got paid family leave in Minnesota. He's the reason we've got free school lunches. Him and I, we've been through thick and thin.
But did he do enough to combat fraud,
over these
Mayor?
past 5 years.
Did he do enough to combat fraud?
Look, obviously, everybody could have done more to prevent fraud, and I think that's a fair point to make. Do more to prevent fraud, and you look what he's doing right now. He's setting up a whole bunch of infrastructure to do that. And by the way, look, the fraud's real. We've all got to acknowledge it. The fraud is very real. And by the way, when somebody commits fraud, and there are many that have done that, you investigate it. You charge, you prosecute, and yeah, you put the person in jail. As an individual, you put the person in jail as an individual. You do not hold an entire community, any community, accountable for the actions of individuals.
There's been their life online. Boys like him do it all the time. Let freedom, all else will have to fall. Make your choice now, boy, when your government come to call. He's been walking in the shadow of his greed. He's been walking in the shadow of his greed. life in his eyes. Hell, it's damn near gone. He's been walking in the shadow of his grave. He's been walking in the shadow of his grave. Marijuana when the exes got the kid. He gets to thinking on all the crazy shit they did. Found him on a Monday, face down